Hi, I'm Sarah and welcome back to Nursing the Garden. So today we're looking at my herb garden, which is behind me here. So I'm probably doing something that's on a lot of your minds, is looking at tidying up some of your vegetable garden spring. So today I'm probably doing what a lot of you are thinking about, and tidying up some of those gardens that need a bit of work or that are not looking their best. I'm giving my herb garden a spring makeover. Now the bed behind me has been a bit neglected. I haven't really touched it over the last 12 months or so. Some of the plants are thriving, some of them are going to seed, some of them have seen much better days. So if you want to join me today, we're going to go through how we can revive this bed, and hopefully you'll be able to pick up some tips along the way. And whether you're looking at reviving a bed or starting from scratch, I'm hoping to show you some really easy ways to have a thriving and maintenance or a low maintenance garden. So let's get into it. So before we get started, I thought we'd just go through and I'd show you some of the herbs that I have got growing here. And starting off with the chives, so they're now in flower. Next to it we've got some chamomile, which is yet to start flowering. A few more chives, fantastic oregano bush. We've got some sage, that's about to head into flower. Tarragon. Parsley, that's actually starting to develop its seed heads. We've got some bare patches here. Here we've got some thyme, and if we look back here we can see that that's just starting to come into flower. And towards the back there we've got some mint, and a few more other sage plants and parsley plants that have gone to seed. So we've now moved to the back of the garden, and we've got this rosemary plant which looks a little bit worse for wear, but I have just transplanted it because the spot it was in I don't think was getting any water, and so it was looking like it was drying out. So I have just transplanted that one to this bare spot here. This one here is a marjoram plant, and then if we look in the back here, which is a bit hard to see, is a lavender plant. So I'll show you how we'll take some cuttings of that. If I can get a good shot of it. So we'll sort out some of the plants that don't belong here, like these peas that have just been somehow or other self-sown. We've got some parsnips that don't belong in this garden, and we'll move the sage because I've got plenty of sage. So I'll show you how we move the sage, how we'll take some cuttings of the lavender, and we'll move the parsley and get that out of the garden before it sets seed. When you look at plants that are going to seed, they're putting all their energy into producing seeds, and many of the leaves change shape or they change taste, often becoming more bitter because they don't want animals to eat the leaves. They want the plant to stay so that it produces the seed. So when plants go to seed, you have to decide, do you want to keep it for the seed, or are we better to remove it and put something else in its place that's going to serve us better? So some of the parsley, most of the parsley I will take out, and particularly this great big one, because it's right in my view when I look out the kitchen window. Okay, so now we've pulled out a lot of that parsley and many of the weeds that we don't want, and many of the plants that are doing well. And we can see we've got lots of gaps in the garden now, and gaps promote weeds, so we need to fill in those spaces. So next step is to look at the plants that are crowded and let's move them. So here's a great example. This is actually 2 sage bushes. So I might dig up one of those and we'll move one of them. And then if we go under this tree, we've got a sage, mint and a thyme there, all kind of crowding each other. So we might move that sage plant as well. So I've left the rogue peas because they're actually doing very well, but they're not growing up a trellis. And ironically, I have a TP type trellis here that has nothing growing up. So I'm actually going to move this trellis to where the peas are so that it gives them some sort of structure to grow up, and that'll also add some height to the garden. Gosh, I wish you could smell this. It just smells amazing. So that's what's really it. You just don't be too precious with it. The most important thing is that it gets water now that we've disturbed it. Sorry about the wind, but as we can see, this is already starting to look better. So I've got a big bushy plant, some ground covers, I've got some height, some more bushy plants. Alright, but now I've got this bare spot, so maybe that tarragon needs to be moved. Let's do that. Tree. The next plant we're looking at here is mint. Now mint is one of those plants that I guarantee absolutely anyone can grow. Okay, it is so hardy and really does grow on its own. So if you're having trouble growing any plants or any herbs, mint is the one that I would suggest. that you start with. Okay, most people, it's quite a bully in the garden, it takes over. So most people suggest growing it in pots. I don't grow it in pots, as you can see. I grow it straight in the garden. But if we have a look here, this is what happens with the mint. It just scents up plants, and it just creates its own plants from the roots. So the roots spread out and plants pop up. So this is part of the maintenance of mint, and that is to contain it. So make sure that you pull out any of these rogue plants that pop up. But this mint plant is actually squished. So when we were doing our little overview, I was talking about moving the sage, which is next door, but I'm actually going to move the mint plant. So let's get on to that. So I've got this is my sickle, but you can use a little spade, and I just get in underneath the roots, just literally pulling it up. And you don't need to be gentle, don't be gentle with it. Alright, there it is, there's one root sending it along with a little plant coming up at the other end. So seriously, mint, you can grow it, anyone can grow it. Alright, let's move this to another spot. And because when I pulled the mint up, you can kind of just separate it. So I've now got multiple plants, as many as I want really. Now, if we're also now talking about easy grow plants, let's have a look at the chamomile. Chamomile is a very easy plant to grow and to propagate. So here is a chamomile plant. It's not yet in flower, it will be flowering in the next couple of months. But if we look right down close, we can see here, let me get my tool. We can see here is a little plant. Yeah. In fact, there's two there. Look at that. 2 plants. So pop these in the garden. Chamomile's great as a ground cover. And good for edging as well. So we'll pop these in another place. I actually, there's another one. So this will gradually just keep spreading everywhere. So we can be pretty rough with it. And it also propagates via seeds as well. So when the flowers come up and the seeds, it will seed. So chamomile is one that you need to just keep an eye on and rein it in if it's not in a spot that you want it to be. Let's pop these in here. And we can see here even there's another little chamomile plant that's popped up. So my third plant that I would recommend for beginners is this one here. This is oregano, okay? And oregano just smells amazing. Now's the time to be picking the leaves. You can be using the leaves in your garden in your cooking. But also, if we look here underneath the plant, my little tool. Here, that's got little roots on it. Pop that in the ground and I guarantee that's going to take off. Now moving on to a bit more an advanced technique around propagating plants is your lavender plant here. So this one's actually pretty compact at this stage, it's still a baby, but I actually want to get more of these plants because this particular one I absolutely love. So the way we propagate is we take a cutting, and we don't want one that's got leaves on it. So I've got this cutting here, and then we just strip the leaves off it. We make sure that the end of the cutting is at an angle. Right, so we get our lavender cutting and we make sure that we find where the leaves had joined the stem, and we cut it just below one of those at an angle. And that increases the surface area of that cut to enable roots to develop. So all I do is make a hole in the ground with a little stick, and then I just shove it in. Now, can't guarantee that one will take, but if I put in 5 or 6 like that, half will. So I'm going to go ahead and keep going and see if I can get some more lavender plants. As we discovered, this soil was not great, and even as I've been digging I haven't noticed any worms, which is always a worry. So what that tells me is I need to get some compost on it. I'm very lucky here. I've got chickens where we dump all of our waste, and they provide me with lots of compost. So let's go give the girls a visit and we'll grab some compost. Okay, now that that's done, the wind is just a little bit insane today. Anyway, so I apologise, but that's what you get when you're working outside. Let's talk maintenance. So herbs mostly survive very well in dry conditions, so I would recommend watering them in the morning, making sure that they are watered. Remember, a lot of them come from like a Mediterranean type climate, so they don't mind being a little bit dry, but as we saw, my rosemary is looking a little bit sad, so that's going to have a bit of water. And the ones that we've transplanted will sulk and wilt a little bit over the next couple of days, so I will also keep the water up to them just until they re-establish their roots. Likewise with the lavender, and I've also got some rosemary cuttings that I did exactly the same, so they will also need to have plenty of water put up to them. And then trim any plants or any of the herbs that are looking a little bit scraggly and out of control, particularly your mint. Make sure that that one doesn't get out of control, and your oregano as well. So that's probably really it. It's a very low maintenance. Herbs are fantastic. The herbs that I've got here mostly are sort of purplish colours, so they will also, when they flower and come into bloom, it just looks stunning, the green and the purple at the back door, and the aroma is just amazing. And there you have it. So that was just a quick little demonstration of how to refresh a herb garden and how to design and redesign plants so that it continues to look good over time. Don't be afraid to move your plants. If they're not in the right spot, move them. It took no time and effort, really. The wind was the challenge. But I hope it's inspired you to also go ahead and refresh your herb garden or start one yourself. If you have any comments or questions, please post them below, and I'd be happy to address them in the next video. And if you like this video, don't forget to like it. Otherwise, I'll catch you next time. And thanks for watching. I'm Sarah, and you've been nursing the garden. Bye. Looking a little bit more windblown and sweaty. Whew. Okay, here's a tip. If you're having trouble digging in, get your shovel or your spade in at an angle. See how well that works. Oh, we've battled the wind today.